I think fibre work is important because it brings people together. Hi, I'm Hannah and I'm an art therapist. My dad was from St. Kitts, and in the January of 2018, my mum said that he had motor neuron disease, which is ALS. I landed back in England. I'd done some of the knitting, I'd done some of the setup, and as my dad deteriorated as he was in hospice, I just knitted a lot. The shawl I was knitting when my dad was sick. So this is her work, and then this is the piece that I had made when I was in the UK. But there's also these differences in stitch tension. And the stitch tension is how tight the stitches are on the needle. And so the looser they are, the more gaps you have between your stitches. And so there are literal kind of grooves and lines of different people's tension. Everybody knits differently. So not only is it their tension and their stories, but there's also just the tension I was feeling at the time. After my dad passed away, I decided to go back to school and do art therapy. And when I did the research, I wanted to replicate as much as possible the experience I'd had with my dad, with the knitting next to the bedside and the family members all around. So I started documenting the times I was knitting alone. And then I started to also set up Zoom calls with people.
Just focus on my knitting. My knitting is nice and ordered, it's in rows, it makes sense.
Recently I read there's an Irish tradition that they put a mistake in knitting so that your soul can escape. So you don't get stuck, because every time you hand make something, a piece of you is left behind. So, I mean, there wouldn't be a lot of us left if we did that.
Well, this one's definitely free-flowing,
yeah,
for the soul.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm an art therapist. And when Hannah started doing her thesis on this knitting through her grief and through, I just thought, what an amazing story. And it just felt so special to be asked to be part of that. And when I was 36, I got a breast cancer diagnosis. Something really magical happened for me. The weekend that my diagnosis for breast cancer was in August, and my husband's baseball team, it's a big part of our social life, and in the summer, let them all know. And they had done sort of a fundraiser to get me some yarn, because they figured that I might need something to do while I'm going through treatment. And so I decided to pay it forward, pay it back, carry on that thread. And I went to the yarn store and I got yarn in the ball team colors. And then during treatment, I would sit in the chemo suite and I would knit little beer cozies. And then my husband also started to knit. Another really beautiful thing that happened when I was going through treatment is the day we found out I needed a mastectomy, he knit me my first prosthetic. We got home that day, he looked up, there's a pattern, it's called knitted knockers. And it's just so great as a way of showing that, you know, he's in it with me. Being able to have those knitting projects on hand when I was going through my breast cancer treatment meant that I was able to focus on this beautiful yarn in my hands that friends had been thoughtful enough to gift me. And it gave me something positive and something wonderful to think about rather than the IV in my arm or the side effects that were incoming. And I realized that art and the creative and the being is what helped me heal mentally.
There are things that happen to us and we don't have the ability, we don't necessarily always have the words either. And when we can tell a story, when we can create something and reflect on the meaning afterwards, I think it allows us to find meaning that we kind of missed internally. So when I do look at the scarf, that's kind of what I get from it, is this weaving of a story of multiple relationships at once that I'm able to sit with, but also it is just a scarf. So it gets stuffed into my bag and it gets used as like an umbrella sometimes. I mean, this one's got a lot of holes in it. It's not the best umbrella, but it's what I have to hand. And I think that it just continues to be a metaphor.